What is going on, fans of the Calf Kick Experience, viewers, all 30 of you and 13 subscribers? I'm your host, Zach Glacier Speed Gleason, here with Gage G Money Hamby, my co-host, and it seems we have a third guest picker this week. Gage, who are we talking to?
Hey, we're talking to this doe right here. This is our friend, the Jit. She's not quite happy right now, but we'll get rid of her real quick.
I was about to say we'll release her back into the care of her owner. But domesticated deer, if you don't know where Bernie, Texas is, that's where Gage is from.
Yeah,
but,
bro.
Gage, salute, brother. Another episode of the Calf Kicks After Dark coming at you at 11:06 on June 10th, the eve of UFC 263, Adesanya versus Vettori 2. How's it going, Gage? You pretty excited about fights this weekend or what?
Dude, I don't know if y'all can see my shirt, but there's dollar signs on this because there's money to be made this weekend. I'm hyped. Let's get the fucking juice going.
I was about to say, let's bring the juice. We got to quickly run over what we hit last week. You know, we got to talk about the fact that, like, we were pretty money last week.
Yeah,
we hit on a lot of stuff last week. I don't want to take too long because we got too much to talk about this week, but let's just breeze on right through it, man. Start with the main event. What did you think about Rosenstrike versus Sakai?
I mean, even though you put me in a rock and a hard place, I had to pick the opposite of you for the main event. I thought Jairzinho was going to win, even though I had to pick Sakai. And you hit it on the head, man. It didn't look like you get hit hard, but, I mean, it was enough to make Sakai go down.
It was just crazy because, like, Sakai looked really good against Overeem when he looked comfortable and it looked like he was kind of walking Overeem down. But he came out the first second of that fight and started circling, and that just opened a lot of opportunities for the veteran kickboxer Rosenstrike.
Yeah, man. Can't knock that guy's power. That guy has supreme knockout power.
And I got to give him credit. The call out after the fight was perfect. He went and called out Curtis Blades, which is a fight we've never seen before, a fight he's probably going to get, and a fight that really, like, put somebody back in contendership and kind of eliminate somebody from contendership for a little while.
Absolutely. And, like, I've been thinking about this recently a lot because when you get MMA fights like a striker versus, you know, a really good wrestler, usually if the wrestler can take him down, they control the whole fight, and, you know, it's pretty much a unanimous decision. So I want to get your thoughts on what makes the wrestling versus the striking, like the supreme wrestlers, so much better.
I think the guys that are really good at wrestling and the guys you see do it effectively in the UFC are guys that you see, you know, maybe I come out in the first round and I don't shoot. Maybe I go, if I'm fighting 5 rounds, I don't shoot in the first 2 rounds. But I'm going to threaten you with my striking and make you respect me on the feet, so you have to put your hands up and you can't defend my wrestling. When it gets to the 3rd and 4th round, then I can really start putting it on you and playing my game on the ground. The guys that rush into takedowns early when it's expected are guys that typically get stuffed, don't see a lot of success, and if they do, they're, I mean, incredibly good at wrestling or, you know, fighting against somebody who's incredibly bad at defending wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have a very valid point. It's a lot harder to defend takedowns later on in the rounds 3, 4, and 5 if you're in championship fights or main events.
Especially when you're getting punched in the face. Like, if I have no offense with my hands and feet and my stand-up game is shit, you're not going to defend the wrestling because you are going to defend the wrestling, excuse me. You're not going to defend my stand-up because it doesn't threaten you. I have no threat. So, you know, when you're getting punched in the face, it's a lot more on the front of your mind to keep your hands up and protect yourself.
So going back to last week's card, what were you surprised by? I mean, we hit a lot. We hit almost everything on the main card. What were some surprises to you?
Let's see. First of all, on the prelims, I don't really want to talk too long about it. You can go if you have something, but there was a split decision between Sean Woodson and Yusuf Zalal, and I think that was a bad split decision. I think Zalal, I don't think in the 3rd round either of them had much for offense anymore. They were both kind of gassed. But I think Zalal controlled the octagon, worked in the clinch, And I think in the second and third round, he should have done enough to have eked out 29-28. However, that's neither here nor there, but we hit on, you know, Manan Fioro. I brought her up. She looked dominant. I mean, she hits hard, man. She's a big lady. Yeah, I had two good parlays going into the end of last week, but the Mason Jones eye poke threw me off. That was horrible. Busted two of my parlays.
Going back to watching that, it looked like Mason Jones was kind of in control for that, right?
Yeah, no, he was kicking his ass, and there was one point where he was in like mount and dropping heavy elbows on him where he could have stopped the fight, and Patrick literally, rolled out and squeaked out at the last minute. There were, I thought it could have been stopped with those elbows, but that's neither here nor there. Who cares about a prelim? You asked me what I was surprised about. I was surprised about Santiago Ponzinibbio. That caught me off guard. Did you see that one?
Yeah, man. That was I think we both picked Miguel Baeza, right?
Yeah, we did.
That was the only one we got wrong on the main card last week. And
yeah, it was.
That was a war. Like honestly, like Miguel came out and obviously I think he won the fight. But he came out, he hit hard, and they stood in the pocket and they threw hands. It could have gone either way, but that was a good bounce back win for him coming off a KO loss for one, and for two, that was his second fight in like the past 3 years. So, props to him getting back into maybe being a contender. No shame on Miguel Baez's part. He's still a young fighter and he still has plenty of upside, and I don't think that he should be ashamed of that loss.
No, not at all. But you know what they say, styles make fights. And I wish I would have looked into this one a little bit more in terms of just tape, just raw footage of them fighting. Not because I think it would have changed my pick, but it was interesting that Miguel Baeza was definitely more of a flat-footed Muay Thai guy. And Ponzinibbio looked quick, man. He was moving, had great footwork, and he was just getting in and out and touching him up. Touching him up, man. But last week was a great card, and I guess I'd like to segue into this week because do you think this card is as full? Like, you're more excited for this card, obviously, but I guess my take on the whole deal is that when you have all these stars, you have to pay them, so you can't fill the card as thoroughly from top to bottom. But
I think they're like, obviously, we're balls deep in this shit, to say the least. But I mean, like, there are plenty of fucking names on this card, top to bottom, and I just really think that I think the issue that you're having is there's only like 5 fights on the main card, the pay-per-view.
Well, there's only supposed to be, but there's not as many as last week. I know that.
Yeah, of course, but also you have to look at it. You have 3 5-round events coming off, right?
No,
and you also have the first non-title bout, non-main event going 5 rounds with Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards, which I think is fantastic. I think that everybody would want to see that 5-round fight. Maybe it doesn't go the distance, but the fact that it can is phenomenal. And I think that's awesome.
No, I'll take that. I think that's absolutely true. I just meant in terms of competitiveness. I looked at a lot of the early prelims and stuff, and I just see a lot of what looks to be mismatches, and I'm like, last week's card was very competitive. Like, I felt like everybody was very evenly matched. So hopefully some of these guys that I was assuming can't really scrap will show up and, do their thing. But let's talk about the main card. Let's get into some picks, man, because I really think we're going to have a lot to say this week.
Well, I do too, and I just want to pick your brain on one prelim event. What do you think about Chase Hooper fighting what's his name?
I got it right here. It's Steven Peterson.
Yeah, Steven Peterson. Basically the fucking whitest name you can get besides Mike Smith.
Steven Ocho Peterson.
Yeah, well, what do you think about that? I mean, Chase Hooper is coming off his first loss. Dude, he is a savant on the fucking ground, dude. For being, 19, 20? He's younger than us.
He's 21, yeah.
Yeah, dude, he's a fucking stud on the ground, and I fucking love watching him. He obviously has deficiencies in his boxing and stand-up game, that will come with time. He's so young in the sport, but his ground game is outstanding.
No, yeah, I absolutely agree. You know, we've seen him attempt submissions and takedowns and succeed in some of those things that we've never seen anybody do. If I'm not mistaken, I believe you and I watched video of Chase Hooper pulling off a twister submission in the UFC. I think
Maybe.
Chase Hooper has one and Korean Zombie has one. I think, or no, it was Thug Nasty. Bryce Mitchell has one.
Bryce Mitchell, that's who it is.
That was absolutely.
Not to get off topic too much, but Bryce Mitchell in that fight that we saw together, he tried to pull off fucking 3 in one fight. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. But
yeah,
back to our boy Chase Hooper, the great white dream, as I like to call him.
No, I agree with what you were saying because he's not super technically sound on his feet. Like you said, he's coming off of a loss where in said loss, he blocked a lot of the punches with his face instead of his hands. So, you know, I think this is a pretty classic matchup of a grappler versus a stand-up guy where, you know, I have a hard time putting money on it because Chase Hooper's still just a wild card. Not to say inconsistent, but a wild card and definitely a gamble. But at even money, it's almost tempting to do. However, my whole point is that if you want to bet on Chase Hooper, you're going to have to bet that Chase Hooper can get Ocho Peterson on the ground. If you want to bet the other way, you're going to have to bet that it's going to be a stand-up fight.
That'll be interesting. I think that's a very underrated fight that not many people know about. But yeah. Chase Hooper is very exciting. I mean, just his fucking story. I mean, if we come down to it at the end of the day, like, honestly, if we didn't have the background stories on any of these guys, it'd be hard to not fall in love, but like end up liking some of these guys, even though they're like assassins.
I absolutely agree because it's hard to like separate. Like we've talked about this in the past. The guy that goes in the cage and has that adrenaline dump and turns into a savage from the guy that they are walking around on the street because it's definitely two different people.
Yeah, 100%.
No, I'd also like to slip into conversation right now just because I don't know. I like prop bets, even though I didn't win my parlays last week. I blame that on Mason Jones. And Mason Jones, I know you'll get me back in the future, so I don't hold it against you. But at plus 240, Hooper wins by submission. I can't deny that there seems to be some value there.
Oh, yeah, that's I mean, if you're in the prop bet game, I think that's very, very reasonable to take a chance on.
Yeah, we've seen Hooper win by submission, and we've also seen Hooper win by ground and pound. So you know it's going to come on the ground, but I think much more likely in this matchup, we're going to see him pull off something crafty. Because at only 21 years old and being young, he took a little bit of time off from his last fight. Not as much as some of the older guys, but just a little bit of time for somebody who's not new to the sport, but still growing and developing and maturing. That little bit of time can make the difference between you learning all these new techniques and being able to apply them to the fight and not.
I also think he has the ability to become something very, very good because he has a great grappling base. And I'd almost say it'd be probably easier for him at this stage learning the whole striking game. Not to say that it's easy by any stretch of the imagination, but what if he was just a straight boxer, kickboxer type to learn the ground game, you know?
No, I've definitely heard wrestlers say, look, if you get to a certain age and you haven't started wrestling, you're never going to be a good wrestler. You might learn how to defend a takedown, but you're not going to be able to offensively use wrestling against guys that have been doing this since they were 4, 5, 6 years old. Absolutely. But like you said, it's not easy by any means, but developing a striking game and developing a respectable enough striking game so that you can implement your ground game, a little bit easier than trying to develop a ground game from a striking background.
Yeah, I agree with you. Is there any other fights on the preliminary card that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I mean, there's definitely some. Like you have Movsar Ilov against Hakeem Dawodu, and Mosvar is 14-0, the number 14 featherweight in the division. And he's an incredible wrestler. This is a wrestler versus a striking background. JoJo Calderwood's down there. You got to just give her a mention. But another fight I wanted to talk to you about. What do you think about Drew Dober versus Brad Riddell?
All right. I didn't know if you were going to ask about this, but I was thinking about this. I mean, obviously, Drew Dober's coming off a unanimous decision or a
It was
KO.
a submission loss to Islam Makhachev.
Yeah, Islam Makhachev, who always fucking makes his way into this goddamn show.
Hamza Chimaev.
John Jones.
We covered our bases this week, man.
Okay. You don't have to hear any of those names ever again.
Unless they're important.
Yeah, unless they're important.
Continue, though.
Of course. But Drew Dober, dude, dice to the fucking socks, man. The guy could go step on a fucking bodybuilding stage and fucking win, but that has nothing to do with his fucking, MMA prowess. But yeah, he got dominated last time he was out, and Brad Riddell, he's coming in at I think 14-0 or 14-1.
Yeah, he's 9-1.
9-1. My bad. But yeah, this is a tough one. I think Drew Dober drops another one. Unfortunately, he might have to change his name to Ben Dober.
That would be funny if I agreed with you. No, I think we've seen, Drew Dober at times does have a little bit sloppy footwork in the boxing, but Drew Dober is also a solid wrestler. As much as it pains everybody to hear that, because he did get dominated his last fight, Islam Makhachev's a beast. And then you look
He's
at the
also
only
from fucking Dagestan.
Look, you look at the only other person, on Drew Dober's record that's a real loss, Beneil Dariush, who's in the top 3 in his division now. And then Olivier Mercier, who was literally, his nickname's the Quebec Kid. He was literally like a submission jiu-jitsu / judo black belt. He was a tap-out guy, my whole point. Mm-hmm. When Drew Dober gets put in a fight with somebody who appears to be a much better wrestler than him and a significantly better fighter, when he's outmatched, he's outmatched. But I think historically, when you put him in a fight that's winnable, he wins it. So I'm not really sure how Drew Dober is going to get this done. It might be ground and pound, but I'm interested to see this one, to say the least.
Yeah, I think it's the feature prelim, if I'm not mistaken.
It most certainly is.
It should be a pretty good bout and, draw a lot of eyes, in my personal opinion. I have an off-topic question for you. Whenever you're doing your research and you see combat sambo black belt, what the fuck do you think? Because I've seen it. I'll be doing my research, whatever. Obviously, Khabib, and then I forgot who was on this card this week, but I looked and I saw it, I was like, this guy is a fucking killer. I think Islam Makhachev too.
I'm trying to figure it out because I heard that as well. Combat sambo.
Dude, I don't even know. I'm not familiar with the martial art at all. But if you see that, I think you should be fucking scared.
Well, maybe, but I have also heard people who are familiar with martial arts say that it's not necessarily the most effective thing to use in a mixed martial art octagon.
I mean, I'm not saying it's the most effective martial art. It is not. But I'm saying it might be a really good base to build upon.
True. I can give that, because I do think it involves some elements of judo, and I do, if I'm not mistaken, there is a striking element to sambo.
I mean, I don't think either of us know anything about combat sambo.
Look,
but
we are going to come back to y'all next weekend. Everybody who's made it this far and continues to put up with our dumb asses, we're going to come back and start next week's video with an introduction to combat sambo. So stay ready.
We might just fucking elbow each other in the face just for fucking shits and giggles if y'all want to see that too.
It's called combat sambo, Gage, not shits and giggles. Anyway, fucking way, man.
Stay tuned to see physical punishment by both of us coming up here in the next few videos.
Yeah, we might try to make this a little bit more entertaining for you guys, because the picks are important, but the people our age aren't dropping bills and grands and whatever the kids are calling dollars nowadays. So we get it. We're just going to try to be entertaining. Hopefully, our analysis is spot on again this week. But
And maybe get fucked up by some mixed martial artists. Who fucking knows?
I was about to say, y'all stay tuned. We're not going to say anything this week, but we do have big news coming up very soon. Next week's video, we have an announcement. So stick around. And I think that segues us into Paul Craig versus Jamal Hill at the bottom of the main card. What do you think?
All right. Look, all the money is going into the Jamal Hill side. Sweet Dreams seems to be the hot, fucking bet this week. And I go completely against that. And I actually like the odds. Let me pull up pictures for our viewers to see who we're talking about because it's kind of hard.
Sir.
It's kind of hard to visualize. All right, so here we have Paul Craig coming at 14-4-1. I believe that. What flag is it? Scottish?
Let me see. I can't see it. You gotta. Oh shit! Maybe that's my fault.
I don't know, but anywho, his fucking nickname is the Bear Jew, and that's fucking badass. And he's fighting Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill, coming in at 8-0, knockout artist. I like both of them. However, I've gone back and watched the tape, and I think that our boy Paul Craig is going to I think this is going to be a lopsided win on Paul Craig's part. I forget who he fought. He fought, Shogun Hua in December of this past year.
Yeah.
Dominated Shogun on the ground. Not only did he dominate him on the ground and got a finish on the ground, he also made Shogun look like a fool in the sense of Shogun was taking so many shots from him. His kicks are phenomenal. His hands, they're not superb, but they are really good. But also I think that his ground game is just, by far just something that Jamal Hill is not going to be able to handle unless he catches him with, fucking knockout power, which wouldn't necessarily surprise me. However, Paul Craig's jiu-jitsu, his grappling, off the charts. And I think he's very underrated in the division. And being the underdog, you can make big money. I say it's fucking big balls and Cowtown time.
I'd love to drop some big balls down on Cowtown, Bob Wills style, but can't do it, man. Can't do it, man. I think this is going to be a small bet. I don't really think that I'm going to go balls deep into this one, especially given the odds, like Gage said, minus 283 favorite for Jamal Hill. However, I'm going to combat your Shogun Hua point with the fact that Shogun Hua is 100 years old right now and should not be fighting in the UFC anymore. Low level of testosterone left in that man's body, and when they fought a year before that, they drew. They drew. I've seen Paul Craig get out grappled by Jimmy Crute with a Kimura loss, but that aged pretty well. However, I agree with you. I think if Paul Craig can get Jamal Hill on the ground, it's going to be a tough night because I don't think Jamal Hill is going to be able to get up off the bottom. I don't think he's going to have the skills and the ability to get Paul Craig off of him. Paul Craig is a good grappler. We've seen him over in Submission Underground and all sorts of other grappling tournaments around the world. However, this is mixed martial arts. I've also seen Paul Craig get his face punched in a couple of times. I think he's a little bit chinny. I think Jamal Hill has good power, and I think we're going to see a first-round KO in this one.
From Jamal Hill?
From Jamal Hill.
I also have an issue with Paul Craig's head movement in particular. I don't think he moves very well, and he eats a lot of shots. That being said, he also has one hell of a fucking chin. You have a valid point, but I think this might be one of those fights where Paul Craig's taken to the ground almost immediately, or he tries to keep his distance with his leg kicks, and then once he fends him off enough, Jamal Hill's going to try getting closer, and then gets taken down. But I don't see Jamal Hill he's a one-trick pony in my opinion.
No, I agree, but to that effect, I think they're both one-trick ponies. I think Paul Craig is only going to win this fight from the ground, and I think Jamal Hill is only going to win this fight standing up. So it's going to be interesting to figure out who can assert their will. And I'm going to go with my gut. I'm sticking with Jamal Hill, but just to play devil's advocate against myself, for those of you who tend to side with Gage, shit, I forgot. Oh, experience is definitely going to play a factor here. Jamal Hill's still a young guy. He only has 9 professional fights. He's still undefeated, but
How many
Paul
fights
Craig,
in the UFC?
let's check it out. Jamal Hill has 1 fight in the UFC, 2 fights in the UFC, and 3 fights ago he was on the Contender Series.
Yeah. I mean, that's not much compared to our boy Paul Craig, who has.
No, Paul Craig has a bunch. I'll give him that.
Yeah, he has a lot. He's been in the UFC for a while. You know, obviously, with John Jones reigning that division for so long, these guys just got fucking wiped out. You know, there's never been that many names in the past 10 years, really. I mean, you have Rumble Johnson, DC, that was it. But John Jones pretty much wiped the fucking mat with everybody else. So there weren't contenders.
True. I'll give you that. I mean, Gustafsson was the only person that got seriously screwed because he was really good and just could never beat DC or John Jones.
Yeah. I mean, that division is talent, you know, thirsty, I'd say. But I like where the division's going now. I don't think Jan, he's a great champion, but I don't think that he has it in him for the next couple years to stay at that level. I think that there's about to be a lot more talent in the division and a lot more competition.
I could absolutely see that. You know, I rewatched Jan versus Izzy a bunch. You know, probably like 3 times this week, just trying to figure out what I thought about Izzy. But the more I watched it, the more I was like, this says a whole lot less about Adesanya and a whole lot more about how good Blachowicz is. Because I gave Izzy 2 rounds. He barely squeaked out the second round in my book. That one was very close. But somebody gave him 3 rounds. One of the judges gave him 3 rounds. Regardless, Jan Blachowicz is a very good striker. He's a good wrestler. But like you said, he is getting older. And there is consistently new blood in the UFC. So I agree. I think, you know, maybe our boy Yuri Prajaka will be the one to take him down about a year from now.
Might be interesting. It will be interesting. But moving on, who do we have? We have Damian Maia, the wily veteran, coming in at 28-0 versus Bilal. Remember the name, Muhammad, coming in at 18-3. Zach, what are your initial thoughts?
Man, I'm high on Bilal Muhammad. Let me start there. I think Damian Maia, I already mentioned this. I said low T earlier on the show. I think Damian Maia is just climbing the ladder, and he's getting to that point where technically he's very sound. He's Damian Maia. He's a very good fighter, and he's very good from the ground. But his punches don't have the same pop on him. His takedown attempts don't have the same power on him. And Bilal Muhammad, coming from a wrestling background, maybe Damian Maia can weasel him onto the ground in the first round, because I think he'll trick Bilal Muhammad into taking him down and pull guard. And Bilal Muhammad will have a hard time getting up. But I think the second and third round, Bilal Muhammad's going to be hard to get down, and I think his stand-up game is ultimately better than Damian Maia's. So despite the odds, I'm probably going to sit with Bilal Muhammad on this one myself.
You know, that was my initial thought, and I was going over the tape and I was looking at everything, and yeah, Damian Maia hasn't fought in about a year. Who we lost to Gilbert Burns, who just recently challenged for the belt. And while we went back and rewatched that fight, I was astounded. Gilbert Burns was this fucking close to losing to Damian Maia. Damian Maia got up Gilbert Burns on the ground, and Gilbert Burns is a brick shithouse. Like, dude's built like a fucking Mack truck for 170 pounds. Huge guy.
He's a good wrestler.
Yeah, and he's great. He's a great jiu-jitsu, player, and all that. Great on the ground game. Damian Maya almost into the fight. He almost sunk. He did try to sink in a rear naked, and he failed. And then when they got up, Gilbert caught him. Obviously, that's where you see the downfall in picking Damian Maya here. But even if you go back before that, he is still considered one of the greatest grappling grappling guys in the whole organization's history. So I just obviously Bilal comes from a wrestling background. He likes to press forward, even though that's not what we saw in his last fight versus Leon Edwards. However, I think if Damian Maya gets him on the ground, he is in a world of hurt. And I think Damian Maya is going to be able to get him into the ground. I mean, yeah, I get where you're coming from, but like, it's Damian Maya. He's
Like I said, I
murderer.
will cede 100% that Damian Maya could absolutely tap out Bilal Muhammad, but the way I see it, it's going to have to be in that first round. I just think Damian Maya is too old to fight for 3 whole rounds anymore. I think we can get a good round and a half out of him, maybe 2, depending on the level of activity from Bilal Muhammad and the emphasis from him to keep this fight on the feet will definitely play into how fast Maya gasses out.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, Maya could find a way to pull guard in the first round, choke him out, armbar, sub him out, and that could be that. But I think Bilal Muhammad's resilient. I think that age advantage, only being 32, still on the right side of 35, will play into the fact that he will, in my opinion, survive that first onslaught of groundwork from Damian Maya. And after that, I think Damian Maya is going to have a hard time getting him back to the ground.
I mean, that could definitely be a real possibility. I think you're taking a lot of stock in how his age. Obviously, he's no spring chicken, but you also have to look at the fact, like, the guy has fought the killers of the fucking killers at 170.
No,
His losses come from Gilbert Burns, T. Woodley in his prime T. Woodley. We have Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman. I mean, the guy has been through the gauntlet, and obviously he's taken some damage, but he's still widely regarded as one of the best grapplers in the UFC history, and I don't think you can take that lightly.
No, I absolutely agree with you, but I think you kind of touched on my big point that, like, he is not only old, because old doesn't necessarily matter to me as much as, like you said, he's fought only killers, and he went to decision with Masvidal. He went to decision with Woodley, decision with Covington, decision with Usman, and he got TKO'd by Gilbert Burns. My whole point there is that to take however many rounds of shots from Masvidal, Woodley, Covington, and Usman, if there's not a way to crack a chin, I don't know what is.
I mean, you have a point, but like, he in his last fight was his last time he got knocked out in 5+ years. I don't even know. Let's go ahead and check the facts on here. None of these killers, none of them knocked him out. And then
Yeah, it was the last time he'd been knocked out since 2012.
Really?
If I'm not mistaken, he got
No, it's all
decision, submission. Yeah. Gilbert Burns was the first person to TKO Damian Maya in 8 years.
Yeah, 2009. That was the last time he lost via knockout.
No, wait. Go to shit, I lost it. He lost in a K. God dang it. Oh, he won by a TKO, the one I was looking at. You're absolutely right. I'm wrong.
Dude, yeah, so that obviously says something. That's the first time he'd been KO'd in about fucking 10 years, right? And
No, agreed.
he went to decision, albeit, it could have been lopsided, whatnot, with fucking 3 of the greatest killers in the welterweight division. But he didn't get knocked out, and he held his own.
And I don't think he's going to get knocked out here. If you really want my final say, I got Bilal Muhammad 29-28. I think Damian Maia is going to find a way to win the first round.
Well, how old? He's 43. Obviously, he's old as fucking shit. But like we've seen fucking DC, have a championship in his 40s. We've seen a lot of guys thrive into their 40s. It's not like other sports where you have to be in your athletic peak, especially if you're a ground guy like he is, the greatest grappler in UFC history. That's all technical skills. I mean, we're obviously split on this, and we're arguing for no fucking point.
No, we're not arguing for no fucking reason. We're doing it because it gets the people going. Fall so hard, motherfuckers want to find me. Kanye West is coming back again. But
he's fucking your bitch.
Huh,
Long dick style.
no, I think Bilal Muhammad's still just very upset about the way his last fight went down as well with Leon because he was hot. He was coming off of like 5 wins in a row, and he was going to go fight Leon. And hypothetically, if that fight, Leon was beating him, I did, pick Leon. But Bilal, if he wins that fight, maybe he's fighting Nate Diaz. Maybe he's in a bigger spot higher up on the card. So I think there's something that like a chip he has on his shoulder that he feels he has something to prove this weekend too.
Why the fuck did they not reschedule the fucking Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad and just fucking do this shit? Nate Diaz hasn't fought in like 2 fucking years. Hasn't proved shit. I mean, his last win was against Conor way back when.
On short notice against a guy who does not weigh 175 pounds soaking wet. 170, excuse me.
How are you talking about Nate?
No, I'm talking about Conor. Like, moved up to 170 on short notice and then looked slow and fat the whole fight. Not fat. I'm fat, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't recall, but obviously I'll take you for your word. But like, I get he's a fucking name, but like, why? Like, why didn't they just reschedule the fight? The fight was good. I thought Leon was obviously winning, but you could never know.
No, that's the whole point. Yeah, you never know. And I think a lot of that comes from Leon's side where he said, look, Dana, I did this Bilal guy a favor. You owe me a big fight now. I'm not fighting him again. I don't know him shit now. Which, fair play on Leon Edwards' part, but Bilal Muhammad's not a slouch. He's a very good fighter.
Go back real quick. What were the odds? What were the odds on the Damian Maia versus?
I was about to say this might be another big balls in Cowtown for you. Damian Maia's plus 200 and Bilal's minus 219.
Big balls in Cowtown, bitch. We're going fucking balls deep in this shit.
I was about to say.
Damian Maia.
I just have a feeling that we're gonna split these 2 picks. Either Damian Maia or either Paul Craig's gonna win. I'm like, oh man, I wish I could switch, but
hey, I'm on fire, son. I got the fucking money shirt on. I'm fucking rolling.
I can't wait to kick you in the calf again one day soon. Can I just tell you that?
I can't wait to kick you in the fucking calf.
Well, I guess we kind of already started up into our first 5-round fight of the evening, Leon versus Nate. And I can't speak for you, but if you ask me, you shit your brain down the toilet with your first crap of the day if you think Nate Diaz has any way to win this fight.
You pissed in somebody's fucking Cheerios if they picked Nate Diaz for this fight, son.
I just mean, like you said, it doesn't make any sense, man.
Hey,
money
Manziel, son.
I'll give you that, from a business perspective, I guess. But from a competitive standpoint, I just don't think Nate can hang with Leon, right? Like, that just doesn't make sense.
I think it'll be an entertaining fight. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be an entertaining fight. However, Leon's movement is so superior, and he's just going to be a fucking in and out, fucking kick you here, fucking touch you up, blah, blah, get out. Obviously, Nate, he's never been known for his defense. He's going to stand there and take your best shot and return fire. However, I don't see any way that Nate Diaz fucking wins this. Not one way.
you said it about Leon being in and out. Leon is going to have, if this fight lasts, into the third or fourth round, Leon's going to have an incredibly high output, and I believe an incredibly high efficiency because, like you said, Nate Diaz does not necessarily move the best. And like you said, also, he's the kind of guy that's going to eat your best shot and then throw his best back at you, which I don't think is going to work with a younger Leon Edwards, a hungry Leon Edwards who's like, okay, Kamaru and Colby are going to fight for the title next, but after that, it's wide open. Me, Gilbert, Wonder Boy, all of us that are in contention could get that next title shot. Depending on when they schedule it, I wouldn't mind seeing Leon fight the winner of Colby or of Gilbert Burns and Wonder Boy.
However, so hold on. Let me get this straight. We're both picking Leon Scissorhands Edwards.
Leon Scissorhands Edwards. I think he gets the job done. I think he keeps his fingers closed. And I just think somewhere third round, if I had to say. I think third round, Nate's just eating too much. And I'd like to say that it becomes a TKO, not where Leon knocks him out or knocks him down and starts laying big shots, but where we see Nate kind of on the fence with his hands up, just not being able to protect himself anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think there could be a doctor stoppage in order because it's so hard to fucking TKO fucking Diaz. You know what I'm saying?
No, but Leon, as a striker and as a boxer, is phenomenal. Technically, yeah. I think if there's anybody that could do it, because I guess my theme this week is I don't want to pick any old guys. So, Nate's only 36, but Nate has also been in more UFC wars than anybody I've seen besides, maybe Tony Ferg, like somebody like that. Cowboy Cerrone's been in some wars. Like,
yeah, he eats a lot. He's entertaining. He's entertaining. That's it. It's going to be a good fight, but
to me would make sense at 155. But I understand he doesn't want to cut that weight. But he's kind of got pillow hands at 170. Like, he fought Cowboy in 2011. 2011 is what I'm talking about right now. How sad is that? But I don't even think he beat Cowboy. And then lost Benson Henderson, lost Josh Thompson. He beat Gray Maynard on the Ultimate Fighter finale 2013, lost to RDA, beat Fat Connor, like I said, and then lost to Motivated Connor. He only fought Pettis because Pettis had that one kick off the cage knockout against Wonder Boy. I don't think Anthony Pettis was all that great at the time that they fought in 2019. And then, the whole Masvidal thing, I don't think he looked fantastic against Masvidal, and I think Leon might be, if not equal, better technically striking than Masvidal.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. That'd be a fight I'd like to see. But yeah, I mean, look at this. You have all of this right here that's happened, fucking canceled fights and all that other shit. But I mean, he has a fucking superb record. And he's got an
8-second knockout on his resume.
Yeah, tied for one of the fastest. Not the fastest, tied for the second or third fastest. I can't remember in UFC history. But yeah, he's legit. There's no doubt about it. But the odds are coming in at what?
Shit.
Minus 400?
Over that. This is one that, like, unless you're going to throw it in a parlay, unless you're going to use something to neutralize the odds, Leon at minus 425 sounds exactly like shit to me.
Yeah.
If you have listened to this podcast and have just decided that we're the biggest idiots on the planet and want to take Nate Diaz at plus 472, I guess you have a right to do that. And if that's your prerogative, those odds are pretty juicy, but it's not going to happen. So you might as well go spend that money on a hamburger or a fucking ice cream cone or something more fucking valuable than Nate Diaz.
You can spend a lot more on liquor and be a lot happier.
Ricky, fuck. But
hey, but we're in this game to come in first because second's the first loser, and we don't fuck with that shit.
No, hell no. That's the best part about the Calf Kicks experience. Is one of us is going to do good, So one of us is going to be the one that says, you're not watching our show still. You know what I mean? Typically the one of us that makes the most sense to you, but
I wonder
that's
who
neither
that
here nor
is.
there. Let's
Yeah.
go into the co-main. Let's talk about Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno 2. Personally, love Rose, love Zhang Wei Li, but this was my favorite fight of last year. I thought this was the fight of the year.
This Brandon Moreno and Davidson Figueiredo. I didn't watch it when it happened. Zach was telling me all about it. However, when I went back and watched this, holy shit. This might have been the best flyweight title fight of all fucking time. You know, you had.
I have no disagreement with that.
You do?
I have no disagreement with
Oh,
that.
okay. Yeah, for years it was Mighty Mouse and Henry Cejudo, the king of cringe. And those little fucking midgets never had one goddamn exciting fight. Like it's impossible to get a 125-pound man to be exciting in the fucking octagon against another 125-pound man. You might as well just go have fucking midgets out there boxing, in my fucking opinion. However, those two motherfuckers put on a goddamn war, and it came out as a draw, which I can't even remember the last time a fucking title fight came out to a draw. However, getting into why I like.
Yeah, we got to talk about the circumstances. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We got to discuss everything that goes into this.
Yeah, the point was deducted because of a nut kick.
Yes.
Yes.
It was like 3 of them. Like, and one of the last one was pretty bad.
Yeah, he fucking. Let me fucking square this shit up and just fucking right down the goddamn middle. Fucking kick him around the cock. But anywho, I thought Figueiredo won the fight. It was very close and very competitive, and they threw bombs. This is going to be a fucking all-out war, and I think they fucking have it out for each other, even though they might not be talking the most shit. Those motherfuckers are going to go to war. I'm going to take the god of war in this situation. Go with Davidson Figueiredo. I like his wrestling. I like his striking. He leaves his chin out, but at 125 pounds, it doesn't fucking matter, bro. These guys don't really have knockout power.
I am absolutely with you. I'm with Figueiredo. I disagree. I think both of these guys actually have knockout power, but I think both of these guys have chins of steel. Figueiredo hits hard, man. And after that last fight, I have nothing but the utmost respect for Brandon Moreno. I love him as a person. He's one of my favorite fighters to follow, the whole Lego thing. I wish I could pick him right here, but it just doesn't make sense. We're talking about Figueiredo, a guy who walks around just when he's not fighting at 160, cuts 35 pounds to get down to 125. He's a huge 125.
Are you kidding me?
No, I swear to God. If he was fighting in, one over in Asia where you told me they do the hydration test, I heard somebody say he'd probably be a lightweight, probably be a 155.
He's the human Pez dispenser is the king of cringe, likes to fucking call him, is a bad motherfucker. For 125 pounds.
This dude, literally the first time they fought, I'm not saying Moreno didn't do the same thing because they turned around in the same amount of time, same card. But Figueiredo had to cut all that weight and fight at 125 pounds 2 times in 3 weeks. Again, not denying Moreno didn't cut weight, but I know he didn't cut no damn 35 pounds twice in 3 weeks. Again, another thing, Figueiredo in the hospital with food poisoning, up all night the night before the fight, and as soon as the fight's over, he gets on a gurney, gets in an ambulance, and goes straight back to the hospital. So I think a lot of the big reasoning here is that I think Figueiredo took Brandon Moreno's best shot. I think he saw the best version of Brandon Moreno the last time they fought, but I do not think that Brandon Moreno saw the best version of Davidson Figueiredo last time they fought. So I'm not going to lock myself into anything here, but I agree with you. I think he's a great wrestler, and I think, not being sick, he's going to use these wrestling interchanges to advance offensively. Because there were times in the first fight where I could just tell Moreno got a couple of takedowns. And again, not because he's a bad wrestler, but I think Figueiredo wanted to be taken down because he was tired, knew he could pull guard and kind of rest for a second because he was fucking dying.
Dude, that fight, dude. I think this one's going to be the same way. I think this might be one of the best co-main events of the year, for one. It's just when you get guys like that want to throw hands and have a fucking war and have no qualms about it, can't fucking beat that. This is fucking UFC Apex right here. Not talking about the fucking place. I'm talking about the fucking pinnacle of the goddamn sport. You
No,
know?
I absolutely agree. I
So
absolutely agree.
give us the odds.
I will give us the odds. I'll tell you right now, Figueiredo is a pretty sizable favorite at minus 205. Moreno's plus 197, which, I think a lot of people have the same mindset as us, but their last fight was a draw. So I think it is a little bit disrespectful that the odds are so lopsided here.
However, it was 1 point off of Figueiredo's side.
That's a great point because Figueiredo would have won rounds 1, 2, and 5. Moreno would have won 3 and 4 if there was no point deduction.
Yeah, and if you look at it, I mean, if 1 point was taken off Moreno's side, he would have lost.
No,
right?
yeah, he would have been done. I just mean another thing that I forgot about that we just kind of have to touch on is that Brandon Moreno took a lot more not sustainable, but I guess unsustainable if we look at it, damage in that fight. Like he broke his arm, and basically he broke his arm in that fight and fought the whole 5th round with it broken. And you can just tell because he doesn't throw anything with that arm the whole rest of the round, which is why he drops it. So I guess there's a hypothetical scenario where you think Moreno doesn't break his arm, he wins the 5th round, Figueiredo drops the point, he's the flyweight champion of the world. However, like the whole theme of this conversation has directed towards, there were a lot of circumstances that played into that last fight, and they've both had full training camps now. They're both healthy, and I think Figueiredo's a killer. I think Deuce Daguerre, like you said, God of War, gets it fucking done. I think he finishes it too. I can't really, describe how, but I think he finishes it. Either submission or ground and pound.
I don't think he finishes it. I think it's going to be. I think this is going to be like we've talked about before. There's not many fucking wars that are for the fucking belt. A lot of times it's a champion either outclassing his opponent or two guys that know they have equal skill sets and are kind of, I wouldn't say scared, but timid of getting knocked out. They've taken each other's best shots. They're going to stand in the pocket and they're going to throw for the fucking fences. And this is going to be a great goddamn fight.
I agree.
Balls in fucking Cowtown for our boy Davidson Figueiredo.
I think Figueiredo is going to get it done. Myself personally, I'm going to go 4th round on this one. I think Moreno's a tough guy. I think he showed a lot of heart in that last fight. I think he's going to come out ready to fucking fight. He's got that Mexican fighting spirit. He talks about being from Tijuana and having that nationality push behind him, being one of the best, if not one of the only ranked Mexican fighters left in the UFC. However, I think Figueiredo is going to be stronger this time. I think he's going to hit harder. I think he's going to be heavier than he was the last time because he's not going to have food poisoning. And I think somewhere down the road, he's going to get him with one. Moreno's going to eat one too many, and it's going to have to be over for him. Night. See you in the morning. We'll get you some new Legos, sponsored by the Calf Kick Experience, because we love you, Brandon Moreno. But it's time for the main event. Lead us into it, Gage.
All right, brother. For the main event, we have Israel, the style fucking bender, Adesanya, coming in at an easy 20-0, coming off his first professional loss when he went up a weight division against Jan Blachowicz, and his opponent, Marvin, angry fucking Marvin Vettori, 17-3-1. One of those three
after
losses.
Tonight, after seeing their face-off in their media day, I'd like to propose a new nickname. And, for the few of y'all that watch us, if you could start calling him Cocaine Marvin, that would be great. Because he literally got in Adesanya's face and went, I don't know anybody that has ever done that. Maybe it's not blow, but he's on some kind of drugs. He's on fucking something, man.
Fucking
that dude looks
insane. Testing.
Izzy said that's what roid rage looks like. Everybody take a good look.
Dude, all right. So let's talk about this. Let's just preface this. Israel's coming off his first loss. Nobody knows how he's going to react or come back. Obviously, he's had kickboxing losses where he was the only time in his career he's ever been KO'd, came back and lost another kickboxing match after that before he went into MMA. On the other hand, you have Marvin Vettori coming off a solid win streak. However, he hasn't really fought the top, cannoneers of the world, the Whitakers, the Tills, all those guys. Yeah, he hasn't fought those guys. He kind of finagled his way to the top. His last loss, if I'm not mistaken, is actually against the Stylebender.
And I believe that's correct.
Yeah, that was a few years ago, and that
2018.
Was that a unanimous decision loss?
It was a split decision. One judge gave the fight to Vettori. That's why he refuses to admit that he lost that fight, even though he is the only person that I've ever met that has thought he won that fight.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a very interesting fight. Obviously, I think everybody wants to see Whitaker versus Adesanya too. However, we got Adesanya versus Vettori here. Angry Marvin's coming for the belt. He said, "Give me that belt." And Adesanya said, "What, that Gucci belt? He ain't giving me no fucking belt, son. He's in his head. He's playing my games. Hey, he's playing checkers while Adesanya's over here playing chess with his ass. There's mind games."
I was about to say, elaborate on the mind games in terms of the fact that, he gave him this fight. Vettori wouldn't be here if Adesanya hadn't put him in this position. And he made that very clear.
Oh, yeah. Adesanya is basically playing fucking daddy here. He's the fucking champion. He's never lost in this division. He's beat everybody's fucking ass. He's beat the GOAT's ass. He's beat fucking Anderson Silva before. He's so fucking far inside of Vettori's mind that Vettori is going to come out angry and he's going to swing and he's going to try to charge him. And we know Israel's too fast. His counter striking is too great. He's going to fucking pop him and he's going to sit his ass down. Marvin's not going to know what to do. Marvin's going to shoot for the legs. At 185 pounds, Adesanya's wrestling defense is far superior than that 205 pounds of what we saw versus Jan Blachowicz. I mean, it's going to be a total Paulo Acosta in my mind. And it's going to cement Adesanya as one of the greatest trash talkers and mind game fucking players that the UFC's ever seen, along up there with Conor, in my opinion.
No, I absolutely agree with everything you're saying, especially because I didn't know this till today, but after his win against Kevin Holland when he fought in April, Vettori said, "I want to fight Izzy next, but I don't want to do it till October." He wanted to take some time to improve and get back in the gym and get ready, which, UFC called. He said yes. Props to Marvin Vettori. I mean, obviously, you don't turn down a title shot. However, Izzy from the jump said, "This guy doesn't think he's ready to beat me. He thinks he needs till October to get better. So put the contract for June." He's not going to say no. I think it makes a lot of sense because, like you said, in kickboxing, only time we saw him get KO'd, he turns around and the next fight loses again. I think this is a different scenario, but I think Izzy is taking the time to readjust to 185 and to being the champ at 185 because hypothetically, if he turns around off that Jan loss, cuts the weight, does whatever to get to 185, and then fights Robert Whitaker, I think we're talking about possibly a different kind of scenario on this date. Maybe when they fight, we'll have different opinions, but
as of recording, tomorrow morning is the weigh-ins, correct?
Yeah.
I'm actually very interested to see how Izzy rebounds weight-wise and to see if his weight cut goes according to plan.
Going on that topic of weight, I think a lot of people see Marvin Vettori, and I haven't translated it yet. I'll translate it into Italian one of these days so Marvin will understand me. But the brick shithouse, we call him that because he's built. He looks like a very big man for 185 pounds. However, I think when you really look at it in terms of weight, I think when they walk into the octagon, they're going to weigh about the same because Izzy's just a tall, lanky guy, and his weight is more distributed over his frame, while Vettori's kind of a shorter, stockier guy. So he just looks kind of thicker.
Let me go back here. I think one thing we need to note is the reach. Reach 74 inches by Marvin Vettori, and the reach of Adesanya at 80. That's a whole half foot.
Wait, fun fact, you know who's got the longest reach in the whole UFC?
Stefan Struve.
He's retired. That was a good one though. Kevin Holland has 88 inches.
Holy fuck.
I read that today and I was like, what the hell, man? He makes Izzy look small almost.
Yeah, obviously when it's mixed martial arts, you almost want to throw reach out of the equation, but the kind of fights that Izzy has, he's never been really dominated on the ground. I think the closest you can ever say that he was dominated was by Marvin Vettori for short spurts in their first fight. However, Izzy didn't really have that big of trouble getting up. He got up fine plenty of times. And
Marvin Vettori saw some success in the third round of that fight, but when you're fighting in 3 rounds, you turn the gas on in the third round. You put it all out there to win in the third round.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to see Marvin turn the gas up in the third round again. So I think he's going to have a hard time succeeding, because
my point is like Izzy's wrestling defense at 185, like I said, far superior to his wrestling defense at 205, and he moves a lot better at 185. And that his movement for that division is so much better than everybody else's. Couple that with his reach is why he's been able to knock out Acosta, Robert Whitaker, and the list goes on and on. He's the reincarnation of the Spider, if I have to say so.
No, I can absolutely agree with that. I think you and I, because we're friends, have mentally just agreed on something that we need to say out loud. I think it's clear that Marvin Vettori thinks he has the plan to beat Adesanya because he's going to take the page straight out of Jan Blachowicz' playbook. He's going to say, if I can take Izzy down in the center of the octagon and not on the cage where he can use the cage to get up, I might have a better shot at holding him down. However, like you said, Marvin Vettori is not Jan Blachowicz. He's not nearly as heavy. He's not nearly as strong. And, realistically, I think if
he ain't got the fucking Polish power.
True. No, Italian is not Italy's not Poland. Not by any means. But I think in this fight, Izzy was showing off his purple belt in jiu-jitsu before his last fight. And like you said, the Polish power, Jan Blachowicz is like made of steel. So Izzy was not manipulating his arms or his legs or getting his neck. But I think he might have an easier time against Vettori if Marvin's not careful.
I 100% agree with you. And what are our odds?
This one was kind of like Figueiredo and Moreno for me too. Where like I said, Vettori did not win the first fight, but Vettori did win the third round of the first fight. One judge gave him the second round, gave him 2 rounds. But for Izzy to be a minus 249 favorite and Vettori to be plus 225 as a dog, I think it really says something about what people are seeing from Izzy, particularly in terms of when we see the best version of Adesanya, when he doesn't like the dude that he's fighting and he fucking hates Marvin Vettori.
He's like, I know we've already talked about this when we first introduced it, but I don't think that people are putting enough emphasis on how badly Israel Adesanya is fucking this guy's mind up. This guy, I guarantee you, this guy hasn't slept in fucking weeks. There's no fucking way. This guy knows, like, not only is he fucking with him.
Marvin, man.
It's not only like he's fucking with him. His UFC belt is on the fucking line, and he wants that. And that's enough pressure in and of itself when there's not a guy hounding you and telling you you're not good enough and you're only here because of me. Like, I think that's a huge point that, like, people are not understanding.
No, and like you said, Izzy's just wittiness and his ability to be quick on his feet in these exchanges with Marvin has just been
verbal exchanges.
Yes, verbal exchanges, excuse me. But like they were doing an interview with Bisping at the end of the Rosenstrike Sakai fight last week, or maybe it was during the card. But they were on there, and Marvin keeps going, "I won the fight, bro. I won the fight." And Izzy's like, "You were the only person on earth who thinks you won that fight." Like, but he is, like you said, playing daddy and sitting freaking Marvin Vettori in his place. But I just like to note, like I said about him hating guys, the mindset of Israel Adesanya right now looks much more similar to his fight against Paulo Costa than it did against his fight against Jan Blachowicz. I don't think he ever had anything against Blachowicz to where he disliked him. I just think he wanted his belt, which is motivating in itself. But for Izzy to go out there and do something special like we've seen him do in the past, I feel like for him there has to be a degree of anger, and he's definitely angry right now.
Yeah, angry Marvin is going to be a hurt Marvin after this fight.
Yeah. No, I think Marvin is going to shoot for takedowns and miss. I think Marvin's going to get some takedowns. But ultimately, when you rely on all of that heavy wrestling, and especially when you do it from the first minute of the first round, you exert a shit ton of energy. You run yourself out of gas. And I would not be surprised if Izzy finished this one later on. Like I said, key theme later on in the fight. But interesting. I'm going to call this one. I think the last combo that Izzy throws to finish this fight is going to start off with a body kick that just really hurts Marvin Vettori.
I can see that. He keeps his hands up kind of high.
Yeah, he does.
So, besides the first two, we kind of agreed on everything else, eh?
I was about to say, I figured.
Whoa. Are you telling me that you've picked only favorites?
Let's see.
I think you picked only favorites, you son of a bitch.
I did, but I had let me prove myself of
Can't
value.
listen to this guy, folks. Can't
I
listen
have
to
Hakeem Duwadu at plus 205 on the undercard. Chase Hooper at plus 110. I have Luigi Vendramini at plus 118. I think Alexis Davis is going to get it done at plus 180. So there are underdogs. I just, like you said, it's very probable that there's going to be an underdog that wins on the main card. And if I had to pick one that I would change and side with you on, maybe Paul Craig. But I don't know, man. I just think, for the top three, the favorites are going to win. That's big balls. That's Cowtown. That's money right there. And like I kind of said, I think Bilal Muhammad's just going to have a little bit more in the tank than Damian Maia and squeak one out. And I think Jamal Hill is going to punch Paul Craig's face off. But, I think we touched on everything we needed to this week, minus 5 minutes of just UFC jibber jabber. You ready?
The championship rounds, folks.
The 5th round. Timer set.
All right.
3, 2, 1, fight.
All right.
I looked it up while we were doing the pod. Clarissa Shields wins her PFL debut by 3rd round TKO tonight.
Awesome.
So the dream is still alive. I haven't watched it yet, so I can't comment on whether or not she looked good, but she won. That's enough for a debut. I mean, that's all you can really ask for.
Hey, if I can get this hype train going, I want to see somebody beat fucking Amanda Nunes or Chris Cyborg. It's about time they had some fucking real competition.
That would be cool, especially when we're talking about her training with John Jones out in New Mexico, freaking Holly Holm, all those people at what is it, Jackson Hole?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was pretty fucking awesome. So the Kayla Harrison, Clarissa Shields dream fight in PFL is still a possibility because she didn't come out and suck tonight.
Absolutely. Also have to mention that not Sergio Pez, Anthony Pez didn't fight this week due to complications from an illness or car crash. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Anywho, all right, on to the next.
Bellator.
Bellator, exactly. Douglas Lima versus, I don't know his name. It's fucking Russian.
I was
Amislav.
about to say,
Amislav.
I'm not even gonna try, man. I'm just not.
You think
Yaroslav Amosov. No, I did try. But what are your thoughts? Who do you think's gonna win that one? What you got going on here?
gone back and forth on this. Obviously it's not really going to count for anything, but Douglas Lima's a fucking killer. I'm a fan of Douglas Lima. I think he has the fucking nastiest calf kicks in all of MMA, no matter where you go in the world. They're fucking devastating. However, his losses have come to wrestlers and guys that like to get you to the ground, i.e. his last fight with Gregor Musashi, although that was 185. His last loss before that was Andrei Koreshkov. Took him to the ground, kind of dominated him there, made him look small. I'm not sure about the size disparity here, but I know Amislav loves to take guys to the ground, and he's a ground and pound guy. I mean, if you look him up, one of the first things that popped up is Josh Thompson, Big John McCarthy, comparing him to Khabib.
No, I watched that. I think you sent it to me. I'm not really sure where I got that information, but like we talked about, I think Douglas Lima is the only thing standing between us getting our guy Michael Venom Page over to the UFC, because I think he really wants to get that loss back. And I'm not sure whether Lima winning or losing puts him in a better position to get that fight. However, I think Lima has experience. I think Lima's been in there, like you said, with Musashi, who's one of the best grapplers in the entire promotion in Bellator. One of the best middleweights in the entire world. So I think we're talking about different levels of competition between the two. I think Lima's kind of seen it all, done it all. I think he's going to have enough to get by against Amosov, even though I don't put it past the younger guy to, make a push one day.
You also have to take into account this guy is 25-0, and half his record comes from fucking Russia, and you can't count those guys out. Those guys are fucking killers. Any of the fucking Russian guys you see in the UFC, it's hard to not see them being in the top 15 and have really good records. So there's also.
So who's your pick here?
I'm taking the underdog in Amislav. When I looked at the odds, they were almost about even, but I'm taking the underdog. I'm taking the underdog. I think he's plus 110.
Yeah,
I love
got
Doug.
Plus 100, minus 110, but I have Lima with the best odds at minus 107, which is not very high. Mm-hmm. We only got about a minute left, so I wanted to hit on Jason Jackson versus Paul Daly. Minus 227 favorite for Jackson, plus 211 for Paul Daly. What's your quick pick there? What's your first thought?
Jason Jackson's a fucking killer. Fast as shit. Paul Daly, been around the block forever. Obviously a vet, and he's very good in and of himself. I haven't come to a conclusion on this, man. But I'm starting to think that Jackson maybe fucking knocks him out. What are your thoughts?
I've spent all day thinking that Jackson's going to find a way to get this done. But then when you called me out on picking only favorites, I'm like, Paul Daly could end this fight with one punch. So at plus 211, I see some value there. And I'm like, I'll take Paul Daly by a knockout. I'll take Paul Daly as the next celebrity fighter up to fight Jake Paul after Tyron Woodley. But
get the fuck off my podcast.
I was about to say, that's neither here nor there. Y'all stay
tuned.
tuned.
In the meeting, folks. We're done with this. I will not speak about Jake or Logan Paul ever fucking again on my podcast. I promise you that. You shut your whore mouth.
Y'all stay tuned. We got big news, a big announcement coming next week from the Calf Kick Experience. We got our picks in. We're getting our money down. We're going to watch Bellator tomorrow. We're going to watch UFC on Saturday. Euros start this weekend. Fucking college baseball. It's going to be a great weekend. But I'm Zach Gleason.
I'm G Money.
And this is another episode of the Calf Kick Experience. Signing out.